Okay, let's dive right into this explainer by asking an impossible question. How do you fight the heavens? Better yet, how do you actually win? Today we're looking at one of the most astonishing, cinematic, and just staggeringly scaled conflicts in all of ancient literature. We're talking about the epic burning of the Khandava forest. We're going to unpack the ancient source text to see exactly how this apocalyptic clash unfolds, and let me tell you, the level of ancient technological and elemental detail hidden in these texts is literally mind-blowing.
Because this isn't your standard myth. We're about to witness a battle that escalates from standard arrows to elemental magic, and finally to what can really only be described as ancient heavy artillery. We're dropping straight into the absolute chaos of a burning forest, unceasing rain, and our heroes, Arjuna and Krishna, standing off against the heavens themselves. It's a scenario where two mortal warriors are tasked with protecting a fire so massive the gods themselves have to intervene to try and stop it.
So, to set the scene, the fire god Agni is just completely consuming the great Khandava forest. Naturally, the creatures inside are desperately trying to flee. But to prevent this, Arjuna deploys a massive, literally impenetrable barrage of arrows. The text describes it so vividly. He covers the forest with innumerable arrows, like the moon covering the atmosphere with a thick fog. Absolutely nothing, not a single living creature, can escape from below. Arjuna has essentially created this claustrophobic, domed cage of arrows right over an entire burning forest.
And the chaos immediately ramps up with this incredibly bizarre escape attempt by a snake named Aswasena. Now, Aswasena's father, the chief of the serpents, happens to be away, so the young snake is trapped. In a desperate, frankly surreal move, his sea snake mother tries to save him by swallowing him whole, first his head and then his tail. But as she tries to rise up and make her escape, Arjuna spots her and instantly severs her head with a keen-edged arrow. Seeing this absolute tragedy unfold, Indra, the chief of the Celestials and a friend of Aswasena's father, decides to step in. He whips up a violent wind, temporarily knocking Arjuna unconscious, which just barely allows the young snake to slip away.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is that despite the apocalyptic battle raging all around them, our heroes and the fire god actually pause to express sheer, petty frustration. Deceived by the illusion and the snake's sneaky escape, Arjuna, Krishna, and Agni angrily curse him, proclaiming, "Never shalt thou be famous." It's just such a surprisingly human moment of annoyance, right in the middle of a divine war. But this escape sets off a massive chain reaction. Arjuna is absolutely enraged, covers the sky with arrows, and directly challenges Indra, the thousand-eyed chief of the gods himself.
Well, Indra furiously accepts the challenge. He summons a massive, ocean-agitating storm to just drown the fire. The text describes masses of clouds vomiting thunder and terrible flashes of lightning charged with torrents of rain. It is a full-scale environmental wipeout, a total elemental assault meant to extinguish Agni once and for all. But Arjuna expertly counters with specialized ancient warfare. He doesn't just shoot physical arrows into the rain. He invokes a highly specific, high-level countermeasure.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that Arjuna deploys the Vayavya. Think of this less like a physical arrow and way more like an ancient targeted anti-storm defense system. It's a high-level wind weapon activated by specific mantras. When Arjuna hurls the Vayavya, it completely neutralizes the energy and force of Indra's thunderbolt and the storm clouds. The torrents of rain are literally dried up in midair, and the lightning is completely dissolved. It's a real game changer.
The result is immediate, and it is dramatic. Within a single moment, the sky is cleared of all dust and darkness. The sun's disk goes right back to its normal state, and a delicious, cool breeze begins to blow. With the storm defeated, Agni, who is described in the text as the eater of clarified butter, which is a neat nod to traditional fire offerings, gladly goes back to consuming the forest. Sprinkled with the fat of the trapped creatures, the fire god roars and blazes brighter than ever, filling the universe with his magnificent, terrifying light. But, the peace doesn't last for long. Seeing the forest burning again, a terrifying wave of aerial monsters descends from the upper skies. We've got massive eagle-like birds of the Garuda tribe, filled with pride, diving down to strike the heroes with their thunder-like wings, beaks, and claws. And right alongside them, innumerable Nagas. These terrifying serpent beings descend with faces emitting fire, vomiting the most virulent poison. Arjuna, totally unbothered but filled with wrath, simply slices them into pieces with his arrows, sending their lifeless bodies plummeting right into the burning element below.
Next, the conflict escalates into what is basically a highly organized, supernatural military operation. An entire coalition of cosmic beings and demon-like factions, led by the Asuras, joins the fray. They arrive on the battlefield sending forth terrific yells, their energy and strength pumped up by pure wrath, determined to strike down Krishna and Arjuna. And they bring with them some truly shocking technology that completely changes the whole flavor of this battle.
This is where the sheer scale of the myth becomes mind-bending. The ancient source text vividly describes advanced siege warfare and artillery. We are talking about machines vomiting iron balls and bullets from their mouths, catapults for propelling huge stones, and actual rockets being fired at our heroes in a perfect shower of weapons. No way, right? It reads less like an ancient sword and bow skirmish and way more like a high-tech mythological battlefield.
Yet despite this incredible barrage of iron bullets and rockets, our heroes don't even flinch. Arjuna reproachfully strikes off their heads with his sharp arrows. Meanwhile, Krishna, endued with great energy, makes an absolute slaughter of the demonic forces using his mighty discus. The text paints a hauntingly beautiful yet grim picture of the aftermath. The mighty supernatural warriors, smitten by the force of Krishna's discus, become motionless. They're piled up like waifs and strays, stranded on a bank by the violent ocean waves.
Seeing his demonic forces absolutely decimated and his previous elemental storm neutralized, Indra has finally had enough. The stakes shift completely now that the king of the gods is personally stepping in. The Lord of the Celestials enters the battle directly, riding in on his magnificent white elephant. He takes up his fierce thunderbolt, a weapon stated to never go in vain, and hurls it with massive force directly at Arjuna and Krishna, intent on finally ending the standoff.
And this direct action by Indra signals the entire pantheon to attack. It's like the floodgates open. Each celestial brings their own highly specific, terrifying armament to the field. Yama brings his death-dealing mace, Kuvera hefts his spiked club, Varuna readies his noose, and a beautiful missile. Mitra stalks the field with a discus sharp as a razor.
The onslaught just continues. Other gods step up, one wielding a long lance, while another, in a display of raw, unbelievable strength, literally hefts a huge mountain in pure wrath. Entire factions of elemental deities join in, resplendent with glowing energy. The sheer congregation of divine power creates terrifying portents. It literally robs creatures of their senses and resembles the universal dissolution, like the actual end of the world itself. Yet, in the face of this literal apocalyptic army of gods, what do our mortal heroes do? They calmly wait. The text emphasizes that Arjuna and Krishna are completely fearless and invincible in battle. Bows in hand, they just watch the advancing host of celestials, and then, with supreme skill and wrath, assail them with thunder-like arrows. The onslaught is so incredibly effective and devastating that the gods are repeatedly routed. Ultimately, the celestials are forced to leave the field of battle in fear, retreating to seek the protection of Indra.
Desperate, yet strangely gratified by Arjuna's immense prowess, Indra violently escalates his final assault. Get this, he's actually amazed to see Arjuna firing effortlessly, even left-handed. So, Indra tests him. He initiates Phase 1, a heavy shower of stones, which Arjuna dispels in great wrath. Baffled, Indra moves to Phase 2, a thicker, way more intense shower of stones. Arjuna baffles that too with swift arrows, which pushes Indra right to Phase 3, the ultimate violent escalation. Reaching the epic climax of the battle, Indra decides that arrows, storms, and stones just aren't going to cut it. In a display of raw, terrifying divine strength, Indra literally tears up a massive peak from the mountain of Mandara with his bare hands. The text even specifically notes this peak still has tall trees growing on it. Holding this colossal chunk of earth and stone, Indra hurls it directly through the sky at our heroes.
But Arjuna is ready. Actually, he doesn't dodge the mountain, he intercepts it. Drawing his bow, he unleashes his swift-going, fire-mouthed arrows, perfectly continuing that whole theme of advanced, almost artillery-like weaponry. He strikes the enormous mountain peak mid-air, completely obliterating it. He divides the massive structure into 1,000 fiery pieces before it can ever even reach the ground. The devastating, cinematic conclusion of this clash is beautifully captured in the text. As the shattered fragments of the mountain fall through the skies, they're so massive and glowing with fire that they look as if the sun, the moon, and the planets themselves have been displaced from their positions and are crashing down upon the Earth. These massive planetary fragments smash into the Khandava forest, killing the numerous living creatures that still dwelt within it, and effectively sealing the fiery fate of the entire forest.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. We often dismiss ancient myths as just simple stories of swords and sandals. But when we look directly at the source texts, we find descriptions of staggering, almost cinematic scale. Battles featuring rockets, iron bullets, weather-manipulating mantras, and shattered mountains falling like displaced planets. It leaves us wondering, if the ancients could conceptualize warfare on this level of technological and elemental magnitude, what other incredible realities, forgotten technologies, or profound metaphors are just waiting to be uncovered in these texts? Keep that in mind the next time you dive into an ancient myth. Until next time, stay curious.